Welcome to On Writing with Onkarabile, the show that aims to promote the culture of reading and writing in the communities. We aim to promote dignity of Africans through the power of reading and writing in our communities. My name is Onkarabile Mokoto and I am your host. Ladies and gentlemen, today we are joined by Dr. Lesedi Gaeemelwe, all the way from Botswana, and she is joining us through Skype. Dr. Lesedi, thank you so much. Raho amogela molenanong la rona la On Writing with Onkarabile.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yes, Doctor, you are doing a very great job there in Botswana by instilling the culture of reading in children. Through your book, of course, Little Ngwana Stories. Just take us just in a few minutes, about Little Ngwana Stories. Where did it begin?
Little Ngwana Stories started a long time ago. I'm an entertainer myself, and I like to write stories for theatricals. So in 2020, I decided I'm going to take some of my theatricals and compile them into a children's book. The reason why I say it started a long time ago is because when I was younger, I felt like the literature that I was exposed to, especially with fiction, and storytelling, was more Western, and it wasn't really close to me as an African child. On top of that, it wasn't really that close to me as a Christian. So then I decided there's still that gap. Even today, there are no fictional stories that are told that can appeal to African children as well as Christian children. And so I decided, let me just fill that gap with some of my work, some of my stories, some of my creativity, and compile this book so that a child who is growing up, an African child, a Christian child, can be able to learn from the lessons. But any other child who likes to explore the world in totality.
No, that's great. Now, tell me, Doc, when is it the right time, or age, to actually start teaching the kids or encouraging the kids to read?
There's no right time, but the sooner the better, the earlier the better, because reading is communication and all children learn by communication. And if you can start teaching your child to communicate, especially through reading and writing, as early as possible, it would be good for that child. Children read signals. The reason why even today a 6-month-old baby can get your phone, without knowing how to read and go straight to the app that has the game that they like to play is because already they have the skill of reading. So if you can start reading for a child even long before they are born, reading that story to your child while you're still pregnant, even reading those stories to your children even before you conceive them, then you're already communicating with the child. So as soon as possible, if you can read to the child, if you can allow the child to learn how to read, then you'd be doing the child justice.
All right, Doctor. And you spoke about entertainment, that you are from the entertainment, So I want to know, how do you make reading fun, for kids? Because sometimes reading can be considered as a burden, to some people. People hate reading, it's like, reading, it's like a burden. So how do you make it fun especially because you're from entertainment side of things?
Yeah, so with entertainment, you appeal to the nature of the person that they're most close to, Growing up as a child, as an African child, I often would feel like I'm really learning foreign cultures and foreign ways of living by reading Cinderella, Libo, Beauty and the Beast. But if I would hear stories from my own place, like if I would get a book and hear and read in the book written Gaborone, Botswana, instead of New York, USA, then it would come closer to me. It would entertain me better. So one sure way of making sure that a person enjoys reading is if you come closer to them. And so with entertainment, you try to appeal to that person's familiar nature. And with children, actually, you entertain them by using a lot of color because children relate well to extremities. You use a lot of color, you use a 3-dimensional objects and not just reading out them, hearing your voice. You actually bring the book to life. They don't just get to read the book, but they even get to play games that are spoken about in the book. One of the stories in my book is about thankfulness, and it's about a girl who had to go up an ant mole and come back down with saying anything that she's grateful about. And so after reading that story, you can take children and actually make them run up a hill and come back down saying whatever they're grateful about. So making it practical, bringing it close to them, making them realize that this is near to me and not very far to me can be entertaining for the children or any other reader.
And apart from maybe the story of being gratefulness, what are other aspects that you bring that actually shows that is familiar to them, like that is close to them? Like what are other maybe stories that you use or examples that you use that are close to them?
I use a different examples really, close to them, such as issues of self identity. Children may take a while not knowing who they are, or trying to identify with, what the truth is about them. So I deal with issues of identity, where they come from, and issues like that. But I also deal with social ills. Children are very vulnerable and they can be susceptible to all kinds of abuse. So I've included various social ills like gender-based violence and issues like that.
Okay. And let's talk about your reading sessions in Gaborone Library, right?
Yes.
Yes. Please share with us what do you do there?
So at Gaborone Children's Library, I go there weekly on Wednesdays at 2 p.m. That's around the time that children leave school and they pass by the library. We set up different activities there with a lot of my friends. Some of them are already prominent people in society, they're public figures. I get to read aloud the stories in the book to the children, and I let the children also read aloud. And they also undergo activities relating to the book. But we don't only use my book, we use other books written by other people that the children can relate to. So on a normal day, a child will pass by the library and they'll find us there. They'll probably bump into someone they already know or someone they've seen on TV, and then they see them reading to them. This shows the child that reading is actually an important beyond just them reading at school or studying for the academics.
No, I like that. So the people that you bring along to the library are also writers, or they're just public figures that you partner with.
Some of them are writers and some of them are public figures. Some of them are hidden gems, actually. They're not just public figures or writers. Some of them are hidden gems. There are some people out there who have a lot of knowledge to share, but they're not really out in the public. So I discover such people and I invite them to come and share with the children. Some of them discover me and they ask me if they can come in and join and share whatever they want to share with the children.
No, that sounds interesting. And I'm just curious about the library. Is it the name of the way it's called, Gaborone Children's Library? Is it called like that?
Yes, it is a public library under the Botswana National Library Services. It is at the National Library. So within the National Library, where everyone can come, there's a section there for children, where it's strictly for children only, hence Gaborone Children's Library.
Oh, nice, nice. But are the children coming there, and are the parents supporting you guys, your initiative? Are the parents also supportive, partnering with you?
All types of children, actually. They don't, it's not just the schools that are nearby, but even the schools that are far off. We try as much as possible to advertise it, and children would come if they don't have any other activities. It's really nice. The turn up is really good.
The Creative Corner with Nolu Knowles, a cozy and inspiring show that features interviews with artists, showcases their work, challenges, and successes. Every Tuesday at 2 p.m. only on Share Radio. Tune in live on Facebook, YouTube, and TikTok. This is Share Radio.
Welcome back to On Writing with Onkarabile. We are still having Dr. Lesedi Gaeemelwe. Doctor, let's talk about where we have finished, where we spoke about the activities that you are doing, and also the type of children that you spoke about. What do you mean when you say you work with all types of children? Let's start first with the activities, then we speak about all types of children.
Yes, so for the activities, we look at the theme that we're undergoing for that day. For example, tomorrow, our theme will be vision. So when we look at vision, we're referring to, people write it down, their dreams and aspirations, and going about learning how to place plans into place and taking action to make sure that plans come into manifestation. So we bring manila paper, all types of materials so that children can get to work and actually see how they can go about with their visions. And depending on the topic or the theme, we bring anything related to that theme, and children can actually relate to it. Last time we were talking about superheroes, and we brought capes and superhero costumes that children could wear, and actually realize it. It's not just with the reading, but they get to actually experience what they're reading about and to see it and explore this world in any minimal way possible that we can provide for them. And so our activities include, you know, stuff like that, and bringing those people sometimes, actually hearing interviews of people talking about what we're reading about that day, anything that we can use as, a teaching medium or any source that the children can look at and explore so that they can understand better what they're reading and appreciate what they're reading, just to evoke their imagination a bit more.
Yes, yes. And what do you mean when you say that all types of children?
Yeah, so Little Ngwana Stories, one of the mandates that we do for the book is that the book will reach every child, no matter what their capability is, no matter what their limitation is. So far, through the big book reading sessions, we go to Haburani Children's Library. Yes, these are usually like our regular children, but we also go to different homes and different organizations. I also would go to the Mochudi Resource Center for the Blind, where they took the book and they translated it to Braille so that the children there can get to also explore the stories in the book, reading the Braille translated book. So all types of children really, so that every child can be reached, every child can enjoy this book in a way that is closer to them.
Doc, I'm going to ask you this question. I'm going to put you into a corner now. One of the episode that we had here on writing, we spoke about how to turn your book into profit. And I'm hearing you mentioning a lot of things, going to the library, going to the where there are kids who are blind. I'm asking myself, do you make money out of such projects, or you are just doing it pro bono?
I actually do make money out of such projects. Some of the projects I have to inject a lot of money into it before the money can come back to me, and actually I see the profits after that. Like with the where the book was translated to Braille, I was the one who wanted to do the book reading, and so I needed to translate it to Braille, and it was very expensive. But then after they saw that it was interesting, they now wanted the book, and then they got it into Braille. So you just start out, you don't know whether it's going to bring back anything to you, but you just continue. It can take a while. Sometimes you have to work. Sometimes I don't have enough equipment, because when you work with children, especially of all types, you really want to reach out. You want them to feel what you're talking about. There's a lot of investment there, but it doesn't take long. It doesn't take long, and all of the money just comes back to you, and it comes back triple fold. So you
Oh,
shouldn't be
that's
afraid
good.
to invest. Don't be afraid to invest. And when you do invest, don't do minimal, do quality. Do
Yeah,
quality, and doing
yeah.
this for children. You also but also when you invest, don't do it because you want the money to come back to you. You should be happy when you see that child who is visually impaired enjoying the book. That in itself is your payment, and
Hmm.
you're happy, from that. But of course, that's how how business works. Before you even know it, the money is back to you.
Yes, exactly. No, that's true. And let's talk about you spoke about it actually just now, a little bit, but I want us now to expand it. How did you turn your book into such a huge project? And did you knew from the beginning, or after you written the book, then you said, "Yeah, but I think I can do this. I can do this." Was it a vision from the start, or it just came along the way?
I always knew from back in the day that I was a big children's entertainer. That I knew in my heart. I always knew that. But before I launched the book, I really invested a lot in the book before it even came out. I made sure that it was reviewed thoroughly before it comes out. So I always knew that this thing was going to be really big. I remember on the day of the launch, even the people I had invited were really prominent, big figures. Some of them were not able to come. But I always knew that this was really big, and I knew that a lot of work had to come out of me. I remember after the launch, I thought I would rest after the launch, but immediately after the launch, there was a lot of work, and I just told myself that, I have to work. I came up with this thing. Thing is big, and I can't leave it here now. So I have to work, 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 work. And thank God he brought helpers my way. There are people who can just come up and say, you know what, I'm going to do this for you. One of my designers, the one who does the flyers, he just decided, some of these flyers I'll be doing them for free, and people just come in and they want to help out, and they do this stuff. So it's big. It's bigger than me. It's bigger than me. I try as much as possible to stretch myself to get as much help as I can. The idea with this book is that I don't want it to just be a book. I want it to be an experience for the children. I want it to come to life, not just be something that the children are reading. And so, yes, it's a project. It's a big project, but for me, I see it even bigger than a project. I see it as I don't know what word to give it, but I see it as I'd say the truth. Yeah, I see it as the truth, and so I work as much as possible to do justice to the book.
And maybe what are other, for now, maybe you can just mention the projects that are already happening from the book, and also your future projects from the book.
Yeah, so currently we're doing the book reading sessions that you mentioned with Gaborone Children's Library, but we intend to go to each and every library around the country. Whenever I get an opportunity to go out of the country to receive awards or for any other accolade, I make sure that I get in contact with any of the children's bodies, and I do read aloud activities with them. Just a few months ago, I was receiving an Image Magazine Personality Award in Gauteng. I got to meet the children at Rama City, and I had a reading activity with them. The time that I was in India as well, I was with the Bible Society of India. I got to do a book reading with the children there. So every time God blesses me with travel, I make sure that I reach out to children and I read to them.
And I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was going to ask you if you are only confined to or in Botswana, or you are planning to go all over, countries. But you have mentioned it. I was about actually to ask you my other question was that, but I'm glad that you have answered it already. That you actually do have make that connection on other countries.
Thank you.
And let's talk about, I think you mentioned it earlier about, you said the book also promote self-identity and boldness to kids. But also you spoke about GBV, how do you address that? I don't know in Botswana, but here in South Africa, we are facing currently, it's one of the biggest issue that the country is facing, gender-based violence. And, the country is doing its best to stand against that. So how do you do it? Especially, and you are doing a great job, I will say, because now you are doing this to kids. You want them to grow, being aware about that. So how do you go about?
So in the book, we made sure that we use language that children can easily relate to, and it's not a shock to them when we're writing the GBV story. So we just put a plain example there for the children to relate to. Just that someone will make you feel uncomfortable. You'll know deep down that I'm feeling uncomfortable here. But upon that, you don't have to wait. You have to call out for help before it proceeds. So basically, it's also, like you said, awareness, so that children can know about it before it even happens to them. And if it happens that the situation is already happening to children, then they must know what to do after that. They should know what to do during that time so that they are protected. We also make it very clear to children that they are vulnerable. There's some children who don't know that they're vulnerable. There's some children who think that they are supposed to take care of themselves. So we make children aware of the fact that they're underage and that they should be taken care of. And so when a child grows up knowing who they are, knowing their weaknesses and their vulnerabilities, then they're able to behave in a way that will keep them safe and keep them protected. So that's what we do in the book. And then when you get to the book reading sessions, we prepare a lot now for that one. We make sure that we look at the age range and the types of examples and the testimonies, and the stories that we use. We make sure that they don't traumatize the children, but also that the children can relate to it. All types of children and things relating to that. So we really prepare for this one.
And you spoke about, in your introduction, you said you wanted something that can relate with an African child and also with a Christian child, because you have realized that a lot of books are not actually accommodative, when it comes to those aspects. So the one of you have unpacked the one of the African child, but I want to know the one of the Christian aspect. How do you incorporate Christianity into this, and also how do you make it not what can I say, the word, I don't want to say offensive, but how do you make it inclusive to even those who are not Christians?
Yes, thank you so much for that question. Oh yeah, so just like me writing as an African child, I aim to produce quality. I love excellence, and so a child who's reading this book in another country, say Ireland or in the South Americas, would like to read this, learning about the African child and the African lifestyle, because there's quality, there's entertainment, there's creativity, and so they appreciate that aspect without feeling offended. Similarly, even with my beliefs, because I believe in the gospel and the truth of Jesus Christ. In the same way, I use excellence, creativity, I use quality. And so someone who's of another faith is able to read this without being offended. This is art, this is beautiful. God created art. God is an artist himself. You go out and you see the sky, you see the clouds, you see the rainbow. There's nothing offensive about that. It's all beautiful, no matter what you believe in. And so even with Little Ngwana Stories, we come out like that. It's creative, it's beautiful, it's art, it's learning, it's addressing issues, such as GBV that affect, children of all types, whether the child is Christian or Muslim or any other faith or religion. And we address those issues because every child has to be taken care of. Every child deserves to be entertained. Every child deserves to learn. And so I come out being me in my identity, and I bring this out, and it's never offensive.
No, that's great. And let me ask you this: since you mentioned, when you in your conversation now you spoke about Little One, the name Little Ngwana. Why did you decide to call the book Little One?
I decided to just name it Little Ngwana Stories because the phrase Little Ngwana is just a name in the streets that anybody can relate to. And so I decided, this is a book, it's for children. Let me just name it Little Ngwana. Also
Okay, all
because
right.
Ngwana is an African name for child. So I thought it
Yes.
has that ring to it. It's casual, it's playful, funny. Yeah, so that's why I decided to go for it.
Oh, that's great. And doctor, if people want to get hold of you, maybe they want to get your services, they want to get your book, where can they get hold of you?
You can go on Facebook, Little Ngwana Stories, or you can search for me, Dr. Lesedi Gaeemelwe. Anyway, you can get my contacts there. Or you can directly call +267 7144 2410.
Okay. And your last words to parents that actually are looking forward and wish to introduce reading to their kids. What can you say to them?
I'd say go ahead, introduce reading to your child. Reading will expose your child to treasures. Treasures are usually hidden, and somebody who reads is most likely to discover a treasure. People should know information is important. Information is not as instant as Google makes it to seem. There's some hidden treasures out there that you won't find on Google. So encourage your children to read, to learn, and to grow in the way that they should grow.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much, doctor. Ka setswana ra re leboga go menagane. So thank you so much for availing yourself. Thank you for sharing your insight, and we wish all the best for you.
Thank you so much.
Ladies and gentlemen, you were watching On Writing with Onkarabile, the show that aims to promote reading and writing in our communities. Please don't forget to subscribe, to share online, like and share this inspirational interview. My name is Onkarabile Mokoto, and I am saying let's meet next time on the same place, on the same time. Share online. Thank you so much.